When Liam first differentiated into a high-quality alpha, he caused every omega in the school to go into heat. They lunged at a weakened Liam like they were insane, desperate for his pheromones. I rushed over, shielding him in my arms, keeping them away, and my face was scratched all over. Even after the police and doctors arrived, they couldn't pry my arms off him. After that, Liam developed an intense aversion to omegas and became extremely dependent on me. He would always put his arm around me, burying his head on my shoulder, whispering, "Chris, I wish I were a beta, too. I hate the annoying smell of pheromones. I really envy you." I agreed with him, subtly turning my head away a little. That's because I was in love with Liam. I had been since we were kids. So, when I turned 18 and differentiated into a low-quality omega with a very faint pheromone scent, I was too afraid to tell him. A beautiful male omega walked past us and gave Liam a watery-eyed look. I saw Liam frown and press his lips together. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Pheromones," he said, frowning. "Omega pheromones. So annoying." I paused, a pang in my heart. I could only tell myself that Liam had been through that incident, and he didn't know I was an omega, so he didn't mean anything by it. I moved him to the inner side of the sidewalk, walking on the outside myself. He gave a confused "hmm?" I said, "You walk on the inside. The smell should be fainter there." He understood and gave me a brilliant smile. "Chris, you're the best." Then, as usual, he put his arm around my shoulder and said, "I really envy you. I wish I were a beta, too." "Yeah," I replied with a faint smile. At the same time, Liam's pheromones wafted over with his movement. It was a very sweet scent, no wonder so many omegas were drawn to him. I secretly bit the tip of my tongue. It was a good thing I was a low-quality omega. Not only was my pheromone scent very faint, but I wasn't sensitive to pheromones either. As long as I was careful, I could stay clear-headed. I had already decided to keep this secret from Liam forever. I'd rather never tell him how I felt about him than have him hate me. But, "Chris, did you put on cologne?" Just as I was thinking this, Liam suddenly leaned his head close to my neck. The hot air he exhaled made my whole body tingle. "There's a really faint." I was startled and immediately raised my hand to block him, my body instinctively moving back quickly. It dawned on me that high-quality alphas were no joke. He looked surprised. I opened my mouth and made up a lie. "Yeah, a friend gave me a bottle of cologne, and I just tried it out." His eyes flickered as he looked at the hand I used to block him. He took my cue and moved away a little, then asked, "Who? Why did they give you cologne?" I was speechless for a moment and had to invent a story. "A friend from a club. I helped him with a presentation, and he bought it to thank me." "Oh, I see." Liam nodded, his tone unreadable. "Your friend's taste is just okay. That scent doesn't suit you. Maybe don't wear it anymore. The way you used to smell was much better." I lowered my eyes. I figured there was nothing more embarrassing than being told your pheromone scent didn't suit you. It was like someone stripping you naked in the street and then saying, "Not impressive." To hear it from the person I liked felt like a punch to the gut. "What do you mean, the way I used to smell?" I spoke up. "I'm neither an alpha nor an omega. What kind of scent could I possibly have?" Liam froze, then grabbed my arm and said, "Sorry, that's not what I meant. I know you're a beta. I was just, it's fine." I pulled my hand away and said, "I have to get to class. We can talk about the rest later." Without waiting for his reply, I walked toward the academic building. The buildings for architecture and literature were in different directions, so Liam had to go his own way. Sitting in class, I vaguely felt something was off with my body. To be exact, I was a little warm, and my emotions were too volatile. Theoretically, at that distance, Liam shouldn't have been able to smell my pheromones. I started to panic. Could it be my heat period? But my heat was supposed to be a while away. As a low-quality omega, I only went into heat 4 times a year, and it didn't last long. I opened the chat window for my primary care physician and sent my question. The doctor replied quickly, "Is there a high-quality alpha nearby?" I froze. "Yes." "Then it's not surprising. High-quality alpha pheromones can slowly induce and change an omega's heat period. Low-quality omegas are no exception. If you want to continue living as you did before, it's best to maintain your distance." I paused, taking a long moment to reply, "Okay, thank you." After class, as soon as I went downstairs, I saw Liam. He stood out in the crowd, wearing a mask, his gaze fixed straight on the exit. Our eyes met. He froze for a second, then immediately walked toward me, against the flow of people. I sighed and went to meet him. "You guys finished class so late today," Liam said. "The professor held us over," I explained. He was silent for a while, then said, "What happened at noon, I didn't mean it. I just wanted you to stop wearing that cologne. I didn't mean anything else." I was a little surprised that he was still hung up on that. It wasn't a big deal to begin with. It was just me being affected by my approaching heat and having unstable emotions, which made me a bit irrational. I patted his shoulder and smiled. "It's okay. I was just in a bad mood at noon. If it really doesn't suit me, I won't wear it again." I needed to be more careful in the future and not let Liam notice again. Liam breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. "That's good. What should we eat?" I was about to answer when suddenly, an overly sweet, cloying smell abruptly wafted over from not far away. The crowd instantly became agitated. Someone shouted, "An Omega is in heat." At the same time, Liam's expression changed. He clenched his jaw, and a vein subtly bulged in his neck. That Omega was a high-quality Omega, capable of inducing all alphas to go wild. Many alphas around us began to growl from their throats, releasing an overwhelming flood of pheromones, charged with intense possessiveness. Waves of heat rushed up from my feet. I bit the tip of my tongue and yelled, "Call a professor." Then I grabbed Liam's hand and immediately ran with him in the opposite direction. We ran far away, and the wind on my face finally made me feel somewhat clear-headed again. Feeling better? I handed Liam a bottle of water. He was sitting on a bench, still catching his breath. "I'm fine. My family trained me." Liam gave me a slight, soft smile as he took the water. "It's a good thing you were here." I hesitated for a moment but still patted his shoulder. Liam lowered his head again and suddenly spoke. "Gross." I froze. Omegas are so gross. Going into heat anytime, anywhere, like animals. He roared, not hiding his disgust for Omegas in his words. It wasn't their fault. A dull ache started in my heart. But I couldn't say anything, because everyone was a victim. He looked at me again and whispered, "Luckily, you're a beta." After that, I went to the hospital again for a complete checkup. The result was that I was indeed being affected by Liam's pheromones. My heat period would slowly move up. The next one should be very soon. The doctor told me to prepare myself, as this abnormal, induced heat period from a high-quality alpha might be different from what I'd experienced before. I also noticed my head gradually becoming foggy, and I prepared to request a short leave of absence from my department. I had a club meeting that afternoon, so I told Liam and let him leave first. When I arrived at the club, no one was there. I lay down on the desk and gradually drifted off to sleep in my hazy state. Suddenly, a piece of clothing dropped over me. "Chris, why are you sleeping here?" someone asked. I lifted my head groggily and saw Ryan, my former roommate and a senior. "You don't look well," he frowned, putting the jacket over me. "It's not your heat, is it?" In my dazed state, I felt waves of heat running through my body. It seemed like my heat was actually starting. Not everyone was unaware that I was an Omega. Ryan was the exception. Once, I suddenly went into heat in the dorm. He found me and took me to the hospital, and I moved out after that. I had always thought it was an accident, but now I knew the truth. It was because Ryan was also a high-quality alpha. "I think it is." I swayed as I got up, intending to leave right away. "Thanks, I should go now." Before I could finish, another wave of heat surged over me. I lost my balance and was about to fall. Ryan caught me just in time, frowning and saying anxiously, "Are you okay? Do you want me to take you to the hospital?" I leaned on the desk to steady myself, about to speak, when my phone in my pocket suddenly rang. Before I could take it out, the clubroom door was opened from the outside. Liam walked in, his face devoid of expression, his eyes even cold. His gaze lingered for a moment on Ryan's hand, which was still holding me, then moved to the jacket draped over me. He took his phone away from his ear and ended the call. The ringing in my pocket stopped abruptly. "I texted you and you didn't reply," he said. I froze, forcing myself to snap out of it, and stood up straight, saying, "Sorry, I didn't check my phone just now." "Why did you come here?" I asked. He had arrived at the worst possible time. Now, if he came any closer, he would smell the pheromones slowly spilling from me. What would I do then? If Liam found out I was an Omega, found out I had been hiding the fact that I was an Omega and staying by his side for so long, he would think I was disgusting. The thought made my stomach churn. "Don't come any closer," I instinctively said, stopping Liam, who was about to step forward. Liam instantly froze where he stood. I couldn't find an excuse, nor did I have the courage to look up at him. "You're full of his scent right now." Liam cut me off, his voice as cold as ice. I was stunned. By the time I reacted, Liam's pheromones had already surged over us, overwhelming everything. I heard Ryan let out a choked sound. It was a hostile, deliberate suppression and confrontation. Liam was angry. "Is it because you're a beta that you can't sense it? You smell entirely of his pheromones. What if people get the wrong idea?" Ryan, in self-defense, also had no choice but to release his pheromones. The clash of two high-quality alpha pheromones instantly scattered the little bit of clarity I had just regained. My legs gave out and I immediately started to fall. Ryan reacted quickly and caught me. He yelled sharply, "Chris isn't feeling well right now. Stop releasing your pheromones." Liam seemed to snap back to reality. He was startled and immediately tried to move closer. "Chris, what's wrong? What hurts? I'll take you to the hospital." I used all my strength to turn my head away. "Don't come closer. Don't see the state you despise most." Seeing my action, Liam froze completely. "Ryan, take me to the hospital." I forced the words out. Ryan picked me up. My body was throbbing, but only when I passed Liam did the stabbing pain lessen a bit. Still, it hurt enough to bring tears to my eyes. I was ruined. When I woke up again, I was lying in a hospital bed with an 4 drip in the back of my hand. Ryan, who was on his phone by the bedside, put his phone in his pocket and helped me sit up when he saw I was awake. "That's a pheromone stabilizer." Ryan propped up my pillow and asked, "Feeling better now?" I nodded weakly and thanked him. He smiled. "Don't mention it. You're my former roommate and my junior, after all." He checked his watch. "But Chris, I have something I need to take care of, so I might have to leave. Are you okay alone?" I nodded immediately, not wanting to bother him any further. "I'm fine. I'm much better now." "Good." He made a gesture. "Call me when you get home." "Will do." He turned to leave, then seemed to remember something and looked back. "By the way, you don't need to worry too much. Your pheromones weren't spilling out severely, and they were covered by mine." He probably didn't notice. I was stunned. He tilted his head in thought for a moment, then looked back at me apologetically. "No offense, right? I just sensed that you didn't seem to want him to know you're an Omega." "Of course not," I quickly waved my hand. "Thank you for telling me. I really don't want him to know." Seeing my mood dip again, Ryan didn't press further. He just instructed me to call him if anything happened, and then he opened the door and left. I thought about Liam's expression at the time, lay back on the bed, and sighed. It was almost 10 o'clock when the 4 drip finished. I took the newly prescribed suppressants, hailed a taxi home, and called Ryan on the way to let him know I was safe. As I was approaching my door, I saw a familiar figure and instinctively stopped. Liam was wearing a black hoodie with the hood up, sitting in front of my door, looking down at his phone. I called his name. He immediately looked up and stood up when he saw me. "You're back," he said. "How are you feeling?" I paused, then said, "I'm fine." "Why are you here? You didn't even text me." He hesitated for a moment. "I was afraid of disturbing your rest." I sighed, walked over, and took out my key to open the door. "Let's talk inside. It's too cold out here." Liam didn't say anything, but the next moment, he suddenly grabbed my hand, his voice somewhat stiff. "Did you start dating him?" I was momentarily stunned. "Who? Ryan?" Before I could speak, Liam cut me off. "And you said he was just a friend. That cologne was from him too, wasn't it?" He gave a cold, sarcastic laugh. "I thought something was off at the time. I've been with you for so long, and I've never seen you wear anything like that. He just gave you a bottle of cologne, and you treasure it so much? I was wondering why you got so angry when I just said it didn't suit you. I was furious. It was a finished conversation, yet he brought it up again to hurt my feelings and even accused me of things I hadn't done. I yelled, "Are you done talking?" "No," he shouted back with an even louder voice. "No, I don't get it. Why would you start dating an alpha? We've known each other for so many years. When did you ever have an idea like that? I know what you're like, don't I? I even wonder if he marked you. Is that why you—" I punched him hard in the face, cutting him off. "Liam, stop talking nonsense." I was so angry I could barely breathe. "Stop insulting Ryan and making baseless accusations. Do you think you know me so well? You don't know me at all. You don't even know that I love you, that I'm an Omega." Liam slowly turned his head, his eyes bloodshot. "Yes, I don't know you. Does Ryan know you? Do you know him? Do you know how terrifying an alpha's rut can be? You're a beta. What do you know? Can you satisfy him? He's destined to look for an Omega." His words provoked me, and anger surged to my head. I yelled back impulsively, "Then why don't you go find an Omega?" He froze instantly. I was also stunned, but it was too late to apologize. "You like him that much?" Liam's expression turned bitter. He whispered, "You like him enough to stab me in the heart."
Liam, I'm sorry.
I was just angry. I started to apologize, flustered, but Liam didn't give me a chance to explain. "I get it." He released my hand, which was red from his grip, and wiped his face. "I'm not myself today. Don't take it personally." I tried to hold his hand again, but he had already walked away. After that fight, we mutually agreed not to contact each other. Since I could remember, this was the biggest fight we'd ever had. I looked at the chat interface, hesitated, and messaged Liam's best friend. "Jay, are you busy lately?" He replied a little later. "Not really, just following Liam around." I was stunned. Following him around? "Yeah, he's busy meeting the daughter of Old Man Hawthorne lately. Didn't you know?" I froze. I knew Old Man Hawthorne, the chairman of a pharmaceutical company, in his 60s. He only had one daughter, Ivy Hawthorne, a high-quality Omega. I hadn't been naive enough to think Liam wouldn't eventually be with someone else, but I hadn't expected the day to come so soon. And with a gender I once thought was impossible for him. I was about to reply when Jay sent another message. "Did you guys fight?" I was silent for a moment, then finally gave a self-deprecating laugh. "Yeah, is it that obvious? Couldn't be more obvious. Otherwise, you two are practically inseparable." A moment later, he sent a location, a bar. "Wanna come over? Liam will be here after dinner. We're bros, right? No problem we can't get over." After the unpleasant parting that day, Liam and I hadn't reached out to each other. And I truly had said the wrong thing. I also wanted to clear up that misunderstanding with him in person. So I replied with okay. On the way to the bar, I passed a high-end restaurant. I only glanced inside casually, and my footsteps halted. Liam and Ivy were sitting not far away, chatting and laughing. Liam seemed to have changed a lot. He no longer seemed to frown because of an Omega's pheromones, nor did he need to follow me around anymore. I stood rooted to the spot on the sidewalk for a while before realizing that Liam wasn't someone who couldn't live without anyone. Perhaps this was the right way for things to be. Liam would have his own life, his loving partner. Maybe I, too, would slowly let go of this hopeless crush as time passed. It remained to be seen. Most people experience something like this in their lives anyway. A sudden argument, a mutual agreement to stop contacting each other, and then going their separate ways. All it takes is a catalyst. I lowered my eyes and pulled out my phone. I sent a message to Jay. "Jay, I'm so sorry. My advisor had an emergency. I might not be able to make it." He replied a little later. "Got it, no worries. We'll reschedule." Okay. I put my phone away. Reschedule usually meant never in everyone's mind. Liam and Ivy seemed to have finished their meal. They stood up. Ivy naturally linked her arm through Liam's, and they walked away together. After deciding to go our separate ways, I threw myself completely into my studies. Keeping myself too busy to think about Liam was the best solution. I had been doing well until I received the following phone call. Chris, can you come over to Liam's place? My driver can come pick you up, okay? Liam's mom called when I was in the middle of preparing a final project presentation for a course. Mom? Her voice was anxious and flustered, trembling, and the background was very noisy. Oh, Chris, Liam's in his rut, and somehow his suppressants aren't working. No one can get into the house right now. She started to cry as she spoke. He needs to go to the hospital, but he's too aggressive, and you're the only person I could think of. You're a beta, so you won't be affected by the pheromones, and you and Liam are close. He shouldn't attack you, right? Please, try for me? I froze and instinctively asked, Ma'am, did you try calling Ivy? She should be able to calm Liam down. Liam's mom's voice grew hesitant, as if she didn't know what was happening either. It won't work. Ivy already went in. Ivy, she was hurt. Chris, I'm begging you. The police said if this doesn't work, they'll have to use the water cannon. We can't let that happen. Hearing Liam's mom cry, I immediately stood up. How could things have gotten to the point where they were considering using a water cannon? Although alphas in a rut are largely immune to pain, a water cannon hitting a person is no joke. Ma'am, please don't worry. I'm on my way now. I found my suppressants and gave myself a shot. Then, thinking about how Liam's pheromones affected me, I gritted my teeth and added another shot. Okay, Chris, I've already sent the driver. They'll be there soon. The driver drove quickly, so the situation was clearly critical. I arrived at the suburban standalone villa and saw many people gathered outside the main gate when I got out of the car. The police and doctors were there, engaged in an intense discussion. As I walked toward Liam's mom, I caught sight of Ivy, sitting on the edge of a flower bed, getting her arm bandaged. She had clearly never met me before, yet she stared straight at me. I didn't return her gaze and walked up to Liam's mom. Chris, you're here. She gripped my hand. If you run into any trouble after you go in, come right out, okay? Your safety is important, too. I patted her hand reassuringly and said, okay, I'll do my best. Then I took one last deep breath of the outside air and walked toward the villa, which was saturated with Liam's pheromones. I nearly buckled the moment I stepped inside. Liam's pheromones poured down from the second floor, practically solid, enveloping me. My scent glands started to heat up. I pressed the back of my neck, thankful that I had taken 2 shots of suppressants before coming. Leaning on the banister, I walked up to the second floor, heading purposefully toward Liam's room. Liam. I opened the door and staggered as the blast of pheromones hit me. The words I wanted to say instantly caught in my throat when I saw the scene inside the room. The room was a mess, with clothes scattered everywhere. Suppressants were broken on the floor, and the place looked completely ravaged. Liam was in the center of the destruction. He was kneeling on the bed, making indistinct sounds, somewhere between a roar and a whimper, in his throat. What he had gathered around his body were my clothes that I had left at his place over the years. He was building a nest out of my clothes. The immense shock of the moment made me freeze. It was at that moment that Liam raised his head. His face was streaked with tears, but his expression was fiercely aggressive, as if he meant to hunt down any intruders. The next second, he saw me and instantly froze. Tears suddenly began to stream down his face, hitting the floor in large drops. He sobbed, crying like an abandoned puppy. Sage, Chris. He left the nest he had built and slowly walked toward me. His bare feet stepped on the broken suppressants and immediately started bleeding. I instantly shouted, Liam, stop, I'll come to you. But he rushed over heedlessly and pulled me into his arms. He held me so tightly, with so much force, it felt like he was trying to press me into his body. Liam's tears hit my neck, scalding and alarming. Chris, are you leaving me? Why do you like alphas? Why do you like Ryan? Don't like Ryan. I liked you first. I was the one who liked you first. He wailed, as if he were suffering the greatest injustice in the world. I was completely stunned, standing there in a daze, unable to react. Why do you like me? Liam continued to talk to himself. I was the one who liked you first. I've liked you since I differentiated. I hate omegas, but sometimes I wish you were an omega, but then I see them in heat and I get scared. What if that happened to you? What if I wasn't there when that happened to you? He was crying harder and harder. I wanted to confess after you graduated. Why did you fall for Ryan? Don't leave me. He cried until he was choking, gasping for air, repeating helplessly and pitifully, I was the one who liked you first. My eyes felt hot, and my body gradually grew weak. Damn it, you wouldn't listen to me. I swore for the first time. You're a goddamn coward. Why didn't you just say so earlier? I was so angry I wanted to punch him. But he was crying so hard that I couldn't bring myself to do it. I relaxed my body, no longer suppressing the release of my pheromones. The clean scent of spring water slowly wafted out. Liam's crying stopped. He immediately pulled away from the embrace. He covered his nose and mouth, his face instantly flushed, and the veins in his neck stood out. He seemed to be forcing the words out, clenching his jaw to maintain his sanity. Sage Chris, you need to leave. I feel strange right now. I might hurt you. You need to. The next moment, I ripped off the invisible pheromone patch on the back of my neck and looked straight at Liam, whose eyes were almost unfocused. Liam, I'm an omega, so what are you going to do about it? I regained consciousness 3 days later. Looking at Liam kneeling by the bedside, I didn't even have the strength to get up and hit him. You. The moment I uttered one word, I was startled by my own hoarse voice. Water. Water. Liam immediately got up, ran to get me a cup of water, and helped me sit up to drink it. Chris, when did you? He stammered, unable to form a complete sentence. I looked at him, finally starting to feel better. 2 years ago. He froze. Maybe it was an aftereffect of the rut. But his eyes turned red again. Then why didn't you tell me? I was silent for a moment. Don't you hate omegas? I was afraid we wouldn't even be friends anymore if I told you. He immediately pressed his lips together and whispered, I'm sorry. It was because, I know I interrupted him. That's why I don't blame you for that. It was precisely because I knew what he had been through that I understood his aversion to omegas and willingly kept it a secret. But Chris, you need to trust me in the future. He suddenly looked serious. No matter what you are, I love you. No matter what I dislike, you will always be the exception. I know ultimately you just didn't believe me, which is why you were afraid to tell me. I was silent. Liam was right. I hadn't believed that he would make me an exception. Okay. I hesitated before agreeing. It seemed I really needed to change my slightly twisted personality in the future. So, Ryan, Liam was still half kneeling on the floor, resting his hands on the edge of the bed, determined to ask. I was speechless. The memory made me angry. We're just a senior and a junior. Liam perked up. Then why did you go to him when you felt sick last time? Because my heat was starting, and I didn't want you to know I was an omega. I cut him off. Ah, Liam paused. Then why could Ryan know? Because I don't care if Ryan hates omegas and I don't like him. I preempted him again, then looked at him. I like you. Liam fell silent. His face slowly turned red. Then he pressed his lips together and smiled. Fine. He lowered the corners of his mouth again and whispered, I'm sorry. Then he added, thank you. This is crazy. I found out later that Liam's mom, acting as an elder, had called the school to request a week-long leave of absence for Liam and me. About a month had passed since Liam's last rut, and his suppressants hadn't failed since then. But he consistently postponed going to the hospital for a checkup. However, what I hadn't expected was that Ivy was the one who had blocked the police and doctors and rushed into the villa that day. And now, she had somehow found my contact information and requested a private meeting, keeping it a secret from Liam. When I arrived at the private room, she had already ordered a table full of food and was eating. Sit. Make yourself at home. She greeted me with food still in her mouth, not seeming to mind at all. I sat down, ate a couple of symbolic bites, and then got straight to the point, asking her why she wanted to meet. Liam hadn't mentioned anything about her. She couldn't be his ex, could she? She swallowed a bite of food, her narrow eyes looking at me. She suddenly asked, It's an honor to finally meet you, Mr. Chris. I wanted to ask, When did you differentiate into an omega? Now that everything was out in the open, I didn't need to hide the truth anymore. Although I didn't know why she said it's an honor, I took it as a polite formality and replied, 2 years ago. Oh, she said softly, that's good. I just wanted to tell you that when Liam and I met, it was mutually beneficial. There were no feelings between us. My father is always pushing me to go on blind dates, and Liam fits his standards perfectly. I happened to have something he wanted, so we cooperated and put on a few shows. She suddenly sighed and smiled cryptically. It must have been tough for him, holding back all the time just to get what he wanted, even though he detests my pheromones. I paused, not understanding what she was getting at. But, don't you want to know why his suppressants failed during his rut that time? She said slowly. I frowned. It had something to do with you? She took another unhurried bite of food. What he wanted was too precious. Besides acting with me, of course he had to give me something else, too. For example, the raw scent gland fluid from a rutting period without suppressants. I stood up instantly. What are you talking about? Raw scent gland fluid is the most crucial thing for alphas and omegas. It's practically life itself. Having scent gland fluid extracted means that the alpha or omega's biological information will be studied, and it causes some physical harm. This is typically only provided by people who are terminally ill as a contribution to science. Furthermore, Liam was a high-quality alpha. The damage to his body from the extraction would be considerable. Before I could speak, Ivy spoke again. Don't rush to blame me. That stuff is even more precious. Besides, I only extracted 2 cubic centimeters for research. He'll be fine. I calmed down and asked in a low voice, what did he want? Ivy's fox-like eyes curved. She stared straight at me, just like she had that day, and then whispered, of course, it's something only I can get my hands on. For example, a banned drug that can turn a beta into an omega. Walking home, my mind was still on what Ivy had just said. As a fellow omega, I should warn Mr. Chris to be careful. Liam is an absolute psycho. He even dared to ask me for a drug that could get him shot, all just to mark you. He even studied up a lot beforehand, worried you might have a bad reaction. When you get back, why don't you check out his basement? Since the last time, Liam had thick-skinnedly insisted that I move in with him. I entered the house and found Liam cooking in the kitchen. He heard the door open and walked out, holding a spatula. Chris, watch some TV and eat some fruit. I'll call you when the food is ready. I replied, and as soon as he went into the kitchen, I turned and headed toward the room that led to the basement. After walking down a flight of stairs, I finally saw the dark basement door. I walked over and pushed the door open. It wasn't as dim as I had imagined. Once the lights were on, it radiated a soft, warm light. On the soft, large bed lay unused chains. Next to it were many medications, and there was even an ECG monitor on the desk. In the corner was a box. I walked over and found my old Switch console that I used to play with at Liam's house when I was a kid. The box was full of my favorite game cartridges. If I had truly been a beta, if I had really been dating Ryan, was Liam planning to turn me into an omega and lock me up here forever? I suddenly heard hurried footsteps on the stairs. Liam must have realized I was down here. The next moment, he appeared in the basement doorway, looking panicked. "H. Chris, this, you damn..." I cut him off. I considered myself a very easygoing person who rarely got truly angry with anyone. But Liam had a natural talent for driving people mad. A surge of irrational fury shot to my head. "Come here," I said, suppressing my anger. Liam fell silent. He lowered the hand resting on the door frame, took a breath, and slowly walked toward me. "Bite your teeth." Liam paused, pursed his lips, and obediently clenched his jaw. The next second, I punched him in the face. Then, feeling unsatisfied, I added another punch. Later, Liam, sporting a swollen face, cleaned out the basement, smashed the dose of medicine that could have sent him to jail right in front of me, and slept on the sofa for a month. Only then did I finally start to be nice to him again. It wasn't until the day my advisor messaged me, asking me to finalize the competition topic with Ryan, that things changed. Hearing that I was going to Ryan's house, Liam shed his usual subdued demeanor and insisted on tagging along. He even primped himself, his hair slicked back with gel. Seriously, I muttered, exasperated. I won't lose, he said to the mirror, talking to himself. Ryan's house was a villa located slightly out in the suburbs. He seemed to be a secretly rich guy, too. The doorbell rang twice before the door was pulled open from the inside. My gaze met the person inside, and I instantly froze. It wasn't Ryan who opened the door. He was very tall, a head taller than me, with pale, cool skin and a cool, almost aloof expression. He had a striking, angular beauty. Omega? Alpha? Who is it? He spoke, his voice slightly hoarse but clearly cool and distant. Hello, I'm looking for Ryan. I'm here to discuss the competition topic with him. I pulled my thoughts back and spoke. Oh, he thought for a moment, then pulled the door open to let us in, saying, Come in. He's cooking. I politely thanked him and walked in with Liam. The person closed the door behind us and walked ahead to lead the way. I instantly noticed the messy bite marks all over the back of his neck. Some had even scabbed over, indicating the person who bit him was very aggressive. I cleared my throat, feeling awkward. Liam, however, scoffed and whispered, I thought Ryan was supposed to be a nice guy. I glared at him and he finally quieted down. When we reached the living room, Ryan poked his head out from the kitchen and said, You guys are here. Do you want to eat? I shook my head. No, we've already eaten. He nodded. Okay, then wait for me in the study. Second floor, first door on the left. I'll be right there. He finished speaking, then brought the food out of the kitchen and placed it one by one in front of the cool-looking person on the table. Then he brought out a slice of strawberry cake. I watched the person immediately push the food aside and take the cake first. Ryan smiled, as if he had anticipated it. Liam suddenly cupped my head with both hands and turned my face forward, saying with a fake smile, Watch where you're going. I was a little innocent. I was just curious about what Ryan's partner was like. He still didn't let go. Not as good-looking as me. Does he have no shame? As long as Liam wasn't there to interfere, Ryan and I were both very efficient. And Liam, who didn't want us to spend too much time together, was exceptionally well-behaved. So we quickly finalized the topic, selected the main direction and framework, and decided to wrap up the meeting. Liam stood up with a sigh of relief. Let's go now. I pinched the hand he offered me, ignoring his yelp, and said to Ryan, Well, Ryan will head out now. We'll discuss the rest at school. Okay. Ryan also stood up. I'll see you out. No need, I quickly said. We drove here. He nodded. All right, drive safe. Downstairs, the other person had finished eating and was curled up on the sofa. SpongeBob was playing quietly on the TV, and he had fallen asleep. The contrast was truly striking. I thought to myself, said goodbye to Ryan as he picked him up, and opened the door to leave. Liam was very quiet on the way. Once we were in the car, I came back to my senses and asked him what was wrong. Do you really not like Ryan? He asked in a low voice. Course not, I said, a little confused. Then why were you spacing out the whole time? He suddenly yelled, frowning, looking a bit wronged. Why were you so distracted? I was startled. I wasn't thinking about him, I was thinking about that person. I said, I mean Ryan's partner. Aren't you curious? No. Liam's reply was quicker than I expected. He looked at me. No. Why would I be curious about anyone but you? My face felt hot. Okay, my mistake. I won't think about it anymore, I said. He lowered his eyes and didn't speak, still looking like he was sulking. I really am sorry. I opened my arms. Come here for a kiss. Liam's eyebrows twitched, but he still didn't look up. Hurry up. My arms are getting tired. He finally slowly moved closer. I gave him a hard kiss on the mouth. He said, Can you only be curious about me from now on? Yes, I nodded. Kiss me again. He leaned in closer. Okay. I gave him another hard kiss. Kiss me again. Okay. Again. Okay. One more. In the end, I pecked him more than 20 times in the parking garage before he finally started the car and drove off. Am I spoiling him too much? I thought in the car. Liam was driving with a beaming smile, completely rid of the gloom he'd had before we arrived. Couldn't help but smile, too. Forget it. I've always been a total pushover for him anyway.